You ever find yourself thinking, huh, that's actually pretty smart, when you see how maybe a seemingly simple group makes decisions?
Oh, absolutely. Sometimes the most basic setups have surprisingly sophisticated logic behind them.
Exactly. And today we're diving into a source that might just give you one of those moments. It's called hashtag 33 The Wise Counsel of the Savannah from Fazioli Publishing.
Right. And forget, dry textbooks for this one. This is
Yeah.
actually a story about an animal village, but it's packed with the nuts and bolts of how any collective can build something together.
Totally. What unfolds under this baobab tree in the story, it isn't just like a cute narrative.
No, not at all. It's really a kind of foundational blueprint, you
Yeah.
could say, for how groups organize for, well, shared prosperity.
So we're going to unpack their thinking. We're talking about where to put their energy, their resources,
Uh-huh. And how to get what they need, what to do when things actually go well.
and even the sort of day-to-day management stuff that often gets overlooked.
Exactly. The little details.
Right. So it's about how they decided what to build, how they funded it, how they shared the benefits, and, how they kept things running smoothly day to day.
So our mission, really, in this deep dive, is to pull out the core logic of these decisions.
Yeah, what can a bunch of savanna animals uh, teach us about the fundamental principles of collective success? Let's sort of listen in on that meeting they had.
Okay, so picture this. Kofi, he's the wise monkey. He calls everyone together under this massive baobab tree.
It's been quite a scene.
Oh, definitely.
Right.
A real community gathering. And it's driven by this shared desire for, like, a better future.
Mm-hmm.
And Kofi's opening, it just sets the stage perfectly. He says, look, the village needs to thrive, and everyone, literally everyone, has a role to play in making that happen.
It's about collective contribution then, towards a common goal,
Precisely. And then comes this statement that sounds simple but is actually huge. The goal of the firm, they call it.
which in this case is just their village, right?
Exactly. Their village is the firm and the goal to make sure every single animal is happy and prosperous.
You know, for everyone listening, take a second. Think about the groups you're part of. Is there that kind of big overarching vision for everyone's well-being beyond just the immediate tasks?
That's a great point, because it's not always explicitly stated, is it?
No.
And then Mara the meerkat steps up, or agrees, rather, on behalf of everyone. That's so important.
Why that?
Well, it shows it isn't just Kofi saying, here's the plan. It's a collaborative agreement. It's buy-in from the start.
Ah, okay. That sense of shared ownership.
Yep. Crucial ingredient for any joint effort, really. If people don't feel part of it, why would they contribute?
Okay, so the stage is set, the goal's clear. Now, the action starts. Zara the zebra pipes up.
Right, with a classic question, a really fundamental one.
Should they invest in a new water hole? Or maybe plant more fruit trees?
Yeah.
And the big one, how much should they actually spend?
It's the what do we do with our limited resources question, isn't it? Every group faces that. And this is where you see a core economic principle, even here in the Savannah. Evaluating potential projects, allocating resources strategically.
So what did they decide? The water hole.
They went with the water hole.
Yep.
And it wasn't just a whim, like you said. They really weighed the potential benefits.
Okay, like what?
Well, access to water for everyone, that's huge, especially during the dry season, the tough times. They prioritized the project that served the most fundamental shared need.
Right. It wasn't about who individually would gain the most, maybe one type of animal over another.
Exactly. It was about lifting the entire community, that collective benefit again.
And the story mentions they decided on the number of resources to allocate.
Yeah, which shows a basic grasp of budgeting, right? You can't just throw everything at one thing.
No, you have to think about limits, what else you need. What kind of discussions do you reckon went into figuring out that specific amount?
That's a good question. I mean, it probably involved looking at what they already had, their current stash of whatever resources they used.
Seeds, maybe?
Yeah.
Effort?
Yeah. Seeds, effort, time, and then estimating what the water hole would actually cost in those terms. A sort of basic cost-benefit analysis.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
So they've decided what to do, build the water hole. But the next hurdle is, well, how?
How do you pay for it? Or, gather the resources.
Right. And that's where Foro the Falcon comes in.
Yeah, Faru suggests a way to basically finance the project. He proposes asking other animals for loans.
Loans of what?
Seeds, fruits, grains, the stuff they need to actually, maybe feed the diggers or trade for tools, whatever it takes.
Okay, so borrowing. But what's in it for the lenders?
Ah, well, that's the interesting part. The proposed exchange is shiny stones in return for these resources.
Chinese stones. So like a kind of currency.
Sort of. It's fascinating, isn't it? This simple act of exchange, it's the bedrock of any economy, really.
Even without actual money, they agreed on something having value.
Right. To facilitate trade, get past the limits of just bartering, like, I'll give you 3 berries for helping dig. The stones make it easier.
What do you think made the stones valuable, though? Were they just pretty? Rare?
Could be rarity, could be they're useful for something else, but the key is the shared belief in their worth. Everyone agrees they matter.
Gotcha. And Forrest just offering a specific number of shiny stones back.
Yes. And that hints at, a return on investment, a basic form of interest, maybe?
So you lend us resources now, you get more shiny stones back later.
Exactly. It acknowledges that lenders are giving something up now, and they deserve a little something extra for doing that. It incentivizes the lending, the investment in this common goal.
Okay, so project decided, funding method sorted with these shiny stones. Now, what happens if the water hole is a big success?
Good question. That's where Band of the Buffalo comes in. He raises a really crucial point. How are we going to share the benefits, the profits, if you like?
Ah, the spoils.
Pretty much. This speaks directly to, well, the principle of distributing the gains from that collective effort. You all worked for it or supported it, so how does everyone see a return?
And what do they agree on?
They agreed to give a portion of those shiny stones, the profits, back to every animal.
Every single one.
Every single one. It demonstrates this idea of shared prosperity. It's not just the diggers or the lenders who benefit.
Right. It's making sure the success of the whole community actually translates into tangible benefits for all the members.
Yeah, and that fosters fairness, right? It encourages continued cooperation down the line. If you know you'll share in the success, you're more likely to pitch in next time.
How does that compare to how profits get distributed in, say, companies we know? Makes you think, doesn't it?
It really does. And the story emphasizes the intention was that everyone should benefit. It wasn't about a select few hoarding the rewards.
It really circles back to that initial goal Kofi laid out, doesn't it?
Yeah.
That collective well-being thing.
Absolutely. Now, while they're all focused on this big waterhole project, Timmy the tortoise brings up something important, something easy to overlook.
Oh, yeah. What's that?
How do they manage their existing resources? The day-to-day stuff. Their working capital, basically.
Ah, right. Can't just focus on the future. Got to handle the present.
Precisely. Timmy's slow and steady wisdom, you could call it. It highlights the importance of managing current needs while also planning ahead.
So what was the decision there?
They decided to make sure they had enough food and water each day, the essentials, while also setting some aside, saving for the future.
It's that balancing act. Immediate needs versus long-term sustainability.
Exactly. You can have the grandest plans, the most ambitious projects, but if you can't manage your daily essentials, if you run out of food today,
Those plans fall apart pretty quickly.
they really do.
It's that crucial balance, isn't it? You can't just focus on the big, exciting stuff. You got to keep the lights on, metaphorically speaking. Keep the basic needs met.
Keep things ticking over.
So, okay, let's pull back. Look at the big picture here. What did this Council of the Savannah actually achieve in that meeting?
Well, they identified a key need: more water. They collaboratively decided on an investment to fix it, the water hole. They figured out a way to finance that investment through mutual support, the loans and shiny stones. They set up a system for sharing the potential rewards fairly.
The dividends, sort of.
Yeah, the dividends. And they committed to responsibly managing their ongoing day-to-day resources.
Wow. When you lay it out like that,
Yeah.
it's a complete, maybe simplified, but complete economic cycle.
It really is. Investment, financing, distribution, management, it's all there.
And Kofi, the wise monkey leader, he ends up feeling proud.
Right.
Proud of the decisions made under that baobab tree.
Yeah, and expecting that these choices will lead to continued prosperity for the whole village.
It just underscores the power of that collective decision-making, doesn't it? Especially when it's focused on a shared goal.
Absolutely. It shows that when a group really understands the importance of these kinds of fundamental decisions and they work together, shared success isn't just a dream, it's a real possibility. It does raise an interesting question, though. What if, individual desires clashed with the overall village benefit? Say, one animal really wanted those fruit trees instead of the water hole.
Yeah, how would the wise council handle that? To keep everyone unified and focused.
That's something the story doesn't explicitly detail, but it's a key challenge in any collective, isn't it? Balancing individual wants with the greater good.
Definitely something to chew on. So, okay, for you listening, think about this Savannah community. Their, uh, their seemingly simple decisions, they reveal these really fundamental principles
Mm-hmm. Core ideas.
about how any group could be your workplace, your community group, maybe even your family, how it can organize for shared success.
So considering these insights, from under the baobab tree,
Yeah, what are some surprisingly similar decision-making processes playing out in the human organizations or communities you're a part of?
where do you see these same basic needs, like needing resources, figuring out funding, sharing benefits?
And the same kinds of solutions, maybe just dressed up in more complex ways, shaping your daily life.
It really makes you reflect, doesn't it? Beneath all the layers of our modern world, that core logic.
Identifying needs, pooling resources, striving for mutual benefit.
Yeah, it often just echoes the wisdom of that Savannah Council. It's quite profound, really.
Well, thanks for taking this deep dive with us into the wise counsel of the Savannah.
It was fun digging into this one.
Yeah. We hope this little journey to the baobab tree has maybe given you a fresh perspective on some pretty fundamental concepts, but through a really engaging story.
Hopefully, think about how these principles might resonate in your own world. That's where the real insights often take root, applying it to your own experience.
Definitely. Until our next deep dive, keep exploring the wisdom you can find in sometimes unexpected places.
Keep that curiosity going.